I'd like to expose the content scam. The one thing that everybody thinks is powerful on the internet, content, is really nothing more than a gimmick to generate sales for copywriters, marketers, and business development professionals. Anyway, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefings, Copywriting Tips. My job is to help you, the copywriter, the marketing professional, the business development person, get out there and just supercharge the sales of your customers. And a lot of your customers are coming to you saying, look, I need content for my website. I need content for social media. Parler, Rumble, two platforms. They're not quite new platforms, but two platforms that are actively competing against Facebook. Now, Facebook gets hit by an antitrust law. Now there's two more platforms to publish content. There's always going to be a place to publish content because remember, the internet, and I've been on the internet for a long time, since the 1980s when you had Gopher and, text terminals. It has always been about user-generated content to sell advertising. So as long as you can convince consumers and as long as you can convince companies to create content, put it on a website, you'll have more pages to sell advertising on. Now, I'm going to bust the scam because it really is a scam. There are a lot of content farms. There are a lot of offshore companies that'll just create that content. You post a video, and I've got teams of people who would syndicate that video across media. They go and listen to the video. They extract key points. Then they create 3 or to 10 different social media posts to spread across all of the different networks and then to put in a queue and spread across the networks again in a couple months, but essentially to syndicate content across the unlimited number of channels that are available today. That is a low skill activity. However, the script for the original piece of content that sets up a lead or a sale, that's where you need to be. So yes, you can convince your customers that content is king and that content will bring them the flood of customers they've always wanted, at least until the point they realize that their analytics don't show any traffic on their website and their lead tracking systems, whether it be a CRM system, customer relationship management, or an email marketing system, when they see nothing is happening there, you can get away with it until that point when nothing's happening. But the true secret is you can create really good sales converting content, lead capturing content, and simply purchase advertising on top of everybody else's content. Listen carefully. You buy advertising on top of the 1,000 pieces of content that somebody else already created on the same topic. That's your front end. The ad gets someone to come to your well-written, well-thought-out, planned-out content where they then become a lead. And then after that point, from being a lead, they become a sale. If you're helping your customer on that front end side where you're just feeding these social media platforms, you're essentially feeding the marketing engine that creates advertising revenue for somebody else. You're creating content, but you won't be creating customers for your clients. To create customers for your clients, you need to focus on pieces that can go directly to a prospective audience. Some people complain about my site. My podcast, for example, has a bunch of numbers and codes everywhere. I'm reading a title right here, 044 ABR, 4 steps to supercharge content creation in 1130A. Now, no, but that's not a search engine optimal title. It's not even human optimal title. It is simply coding so that I know that this is campaign N1130 and that it's tied to a whole body of work, because content really is the easy part. And then I use the back-end systems to create 3 to 5 headlines that I'm testing for this particular piece of content. So there's actually 1/5 or 1/3 the chance, 30% chance the prospect sees this particular headline, but ultimately they see other headlines that I'm testing. And it's all part of a larger test series so that this fodder content that goes out there becomes intelligence. Okay, so you can shift your customer from content. Do you really want content, or do you want to learn more about what your audience responds to? And then you can, on the back end, have the metrics in place to know which content creates customers. Okay, because even leads are not very valuable, but definitely not likes and shares. Oh, your content went viral. Isn't that great? You've got 132,000 followers. It means nothing. Now, if you've listened to my other programs about metrics and measuring, 132,000 followers has no value on its own. You need to know from that channel, if you've got 132,000 followers on Parler, how many sales and how many leads are you getting from Parler? So you're mapping the number with the channel and then the channel to the conversion, and then ultimately coming up with a metric to know the value per follower. So yes, okay, you might find out a value per follower is $1, and then you're gonna say, okay, I'm making $132,000 from this channel. And this is a hypothetical situation, by the way. Nobody's making that much money from a single channel without spending at least that much in marketing. But you can say, okay, organically, I'm making X from these followers. This is how many followers it takes to generate a lead. And then you can compare that with a paid campaign on the same channel. See, offering your customer these things that are very surface, the content development, writing a sales letter, creating a special report. Those are the gimmicks. And a lot of people make money doing that. Don't get me wrong. But if you want to help your customer increase sales, boost their profits, and sustainably grow revenue in any economy, then you need to shift to the intelligence. The intelligence side is what content converts. Okay, we can measure that. What channels convert. What topics are of interest to leads? What topics are of interest to buyers? So here's how it works. I create a podcast. I then turn the podcast into show notes. The podcast might be developed from a report that's in draft. It might be developed from a question from a prospect. It might be a part of an ongoing series of materials. Then when those things are published online, I do headline testing. I provide content that wraps around the piece. I have on every page the two most important factors on every web page, which is a means of lead generation and then a way to engage. It's either going to be to initiate a paid consultation or to buy an actual product. I put this up on the site. If the site gets zero traffic, again, this is important. If the site gets zero traffic, then it doesn't matter how many times I do this. I could do this hundreds of thousands of times. I could have millions of articles on my website. If it doesn't produce or have the traffic, then I don't have any results. So I've created content. Content isn't king. Content isn't anything of value if it's not in front of an audience that can buy. So before I get too much content online, I would then have specific topics that I've tested in social media, specific topics I've tested directly with maybe postcards to a rented list. And then from those conversions, the leads generated and the sales produced, which aren't necessarily happening on the website. I might get a letter from somebody or a fax from somebody who are not on my list, but they follow the instructions. Hey, if you're going to ask a question, fax it to my business, visit the website at such and such. I record those in my system. Now I have all my marketing metrics roll up so that I now know that topic A generates X leads. Those leads came from these individual channels. Now, mind you, it is so much easier if they all come in through the website, but my audience doesn't necessarily come in through the website, and they're often easier to reach directly. But are you doing this kind of back end for your customer? Are you helping them navigate beyond the content? Hey, great. We've developed a lot of content for you. What happens next? Most businesses are going to say they don't know. You need to be the gap that helps them know, that says, hey, look, you guys have this deficiency. You have lots of content, no customers. Let's stop producing content. Let's start using the content you have to develop intelligence about what gets people to show their interest and then ultimately what gets people to purchase. You can measure how many leads in a list. Now, I know a lot of you folks don't want to measure this stuff. You don't want to be held accountable because you're making okay money producing content. You're making okay money writing that next press release or that next postcard. But again, if you switch into the accountability elements of, how many leads that we produce from this campaign. So let's say you write a piece of social media and you publish it on 3 different channels. You've got a video that you're promoting. The video generates leads at a rate of 1 lead per every 200 views. And the views have to be at least 80% of the video before you're going to get the lead. You then take the same message on 3 social media channels, all promoting the same video. You can do that to test the channel. You could have 3 different messages over 3 different channels to test both message and channel. Again, you're going to need to have the assistance of some kind of analytics tool in order to make sure you can measure that out. Or you can actually take the same, so after all that test, you take the same content and the same video image and you put it on a postcard and you send it to 3 different rent-it lists. Now, what you've done here is you've tested the content in the image on social media. You might promote some posts here and there, might promote them all equally at the same amount of money to the same proxy audience. You've taken what worked best, and then you went and rented a list, and you sent it out to your list. All of that on one piece of content. See, if you had 50 pieces of content, and you're doing all of that for 50 pieces of content, man, you'd have a hell of a business, but it's a lot of sunk effort into the work itself. So just creating the content doesn't create the value. Just creating the content doesn't create the customer. Let's help our customers get past that. And so they're not asking you about creating content. You ask them, okay, so a customer comes to you and says, hey, I'd like to hire you to create some content for me. You say, well, what is it that you really want? And they say, well, I want you to create content. Why do you want to create content? Because content will share our message. Well, why do you want to share your message? Now, by the way, these types of drill downs can annoy a customer. You can be more savvy than this. I'm doing this as demonstration purpose only. But again, what they ultimately want is a profitable customer. Content alone will not get them a profitable customer. Just because they posted something more frequently on social media doesn't mean they're going to generate the relationships or the connections or the leads necessary to get more profitable customers. But if you, as the intelligent service, as the strategist, help them go from, well, what does a profitable customer look like? What are the topics a profitable customer is interested in? Let's look at your website. How many of those profitable customers come through the website? How many come through direct mail? How many walk into the door? You could deliver a better service. You can deliver measurable results. You can deliver the outcomes your customers are looking for. That's a customer for life. That's a customer who gets in the door and stays as a client. I only need 3 to 5 really good customers a year, and most of those customers stay with me multiple years. I don't need 500 people as a business development consultant, as a business analyst. I don't need 500 people to be customers. Now, it'd be nice to have 500 people as maybe as I'm expanding into the membership site concept. It would be nice to have 500 people on a membership site. But I'm so busy working with billable clients that I really, my team doesn't do a very good job on keeping my own website up and running because I'd rather have an 80 to 90% billable hours than to have 50-50. Do you see where I'm coming from here? Content alone is a scam. There are sites and businesses and companies that if you just want content, they'll create content for you. I can get press releases for $99 and they're okay press releases. But if I don't know where to send the press release, if I don't have an offer at the other end of the press release, if I don't have the media contacts, if I don't have the context that the customer even gives a damn about the topic of the press release, then I have nothing. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's copywriting tips, helping you help your customers create and keep profitable customers, help your clients transform business relationships into profits guaranteed, and to produce for you a sustainable, long-term, ever-ready income from copywriting, business development, and marketing. If you have any questions about what we covered today, visit www.adbriefings.co.uk. And when you ask your questions, I do have a big prize vault that I'd like to get you, a free prize, a free gift, something of value related to your question so that you can get the results that you're looking for. I'm about you generating 6 figures and better with your take home. See, I'm all about measures. I'm not about 50 pieces of content. I'm about $50,000 in net revenue from this activity. And let's look at the numbers. Let's see how that's possible. And you can do that for your client. Go beyond the content to the customer creation. That's where the results are. That's where your long-term and loyal customers are. Thanks for listening.